this is Total Warhead, and welcome to another early game guide here in Total War 3 Kingdoms. This one is in the 190 start date, Rise of the Warlords, and it is playing Tao Qian. Now, you can get to Emperor on turn 1 with Tao Qian. That's it. End of story. Early game guide is over. Alright, it's a true fact. It shouldn't work. It's based on exploits and diplomatic cheese or exploitation. But yes, we're gonna be doing this and leaving you in a situation where you will have confederated the Han Empire while becoming a vassal of Zhuo with guarantee of autonomy, confederated Liu Chong, confederated Shi Xie, all without issuing ultimatums, and you can confederate Liu Bei, Kong Rong, and Cao Cao through ultimatums, and you can actually still be able to confederate various small minor factions throughout the map on turn 1. You also notice that there's a recruitable character on turn 1, Lu Fang, once you confederate the Han Empire. There actually are turncoats on turn 1 via spies, but the main goal of this campaign is we get Tao Qian murdered, we put his wife as faction leader, and then we join through confederation via marriage with Liu Chong, Han Empire, and Shi Xie. By doing this, we end up with 70 counties out of 95 you need to win the game, maxed out corruption, but by getting to Empress, you can get all of the max cap of admins or trade agreements or assignments or armies or spies, whatever you want to do. It leaves you in a situation where you can just rush, get 25 counties via confederation, and rush the 3 emperor seats that are Zhuo, Gongsun Du, and then Liu Zhang here in the west. Or you can vassalize or grant independence to your administrators, and with them reduce your overall corruption, because we have over 50 counties and no corruption reduction on turn 1 once you confederate the Han Empire. So you want to drop that down to 25 counties if possible. Now, another thing you can do as well is trade a lot of the regions that you start out with to basically create a sandbox experience like you would want to on turn 1 by giving regions to other factions, and from there start small with a small amount of regions, still maintain your trade agreements, right? Keep these regions so you can still trade with everybody, and then from there keep expanding in every direction you want to with great characters at your disposal, a lot of trade agreements, assignments, or administrators, and a really powerful bench or baseline for you to do whatever you want in the campaign. We get these 2 unique units that a lot of people don't like. They get statistical bonuses to morale, melee defense, and range damage when defending. For both of them, it's interesting. They're not necessarily that great per se. They kind of are replacements to regular archers and regular G militia, so that's kind of what they are. They actually are good if you put Liu Bei into a position of power. And then your displaced population, you really want to lower it via assignments, and you can easily keep it at 0. And we actually get displaced population at least 1 turn at 0 population. You get the highest bonuses that you can potentially get to satisfaction, public order, and I think there was something else that you actually get for doing this. I can't remember now what it is. So, oh, here we go. It actually helps with peasantry income, which is great because you start in an area where you can get a lot of peasantry income and a lot of regions that have peasantry income to start the campaign. As for Tao Qian, he's gonna get killed. He is one of the best faction leaders in the game, so he's really good to utilize on the 182 start date. But at this start date, he's already pretty old, so he's gonna die around like turn 20 to 30. And these are some of the great bonuses he has: 2 more assignments, 2 more available administrative positions, and 5% replenishment. Anyways, that is it for me here. But actually, before I continue, difficulties are legendary. It's romance mode. This guide should also work in records, and it is ultra unit scale size. I am utilizing the bulk fix mod, which can cause me to have a different experience than what you will. All other mods that I utilize are graphical. You can find all the mods I utilize in the vanilla enhancement collection that you'll find in the description of this video. And you'll also actually, what the hell, there's nothing else to say here. That is it here. Let us begin. Alright, to get Tao Qian killed, a couple of steps need to be done. Some of them might look redundant, but they're all essential. Number 1, divorce Lady Gan, make her faction heir here. Now after that, go down over here to Zerong before you engage the army below you, and then we're gonna trade the Sha peace settlement to him and receive via marriage Zhuo, who is about -1.7 to marry, and then we're gonna ask for money back from him, and maybe just drop it a little bit more. All right, so 1310 will do. We're gonna do this marriage. She does have clerk, -2 construction time faction wide, so she is good as a generic faction to be in a faction leadership position. Now, next, we're going to engage this army that appears below us, and then we're gonna attack the settlement that we just traded away to Zhuo in order to get Tao Qian killed this turn. So we're gonna go here, and then from there we're gonna do the auto resolve. Very good. And then do release, do ransom. Doesn't matter if you actually capture the general, but the ransom, do it. And then next, take out Zhang Ba from this army, and then disband these units as they appear. There. And then go, before sending Tao Qian to his death, unequip the ceremonial sword because he'll take it with him. That's an item that you can actually trade away. And I think that's it. And then from there, engage the settlement below that Zhuo has. And we're gonna do the battle manually in order to get Tao Qian killed. Okay, and with that, we get Tao Qian killed. And this is where the fun really begins. So Tao Qian now is dead. Lady Gan's our faction leader. The main purpose of why she exists, the sole purpose of her being our faction leader, is for marriage purposes. Now, I have a lot of little shenanigans that I want to do here. So, first off, we see that Liu Bei really likes us. Kong Rong as well. Liu Chong also can be confederated, and the Han Empire. Now, I don't want to spend this entire campaign confederating factions via cheese and exploits and just making my way reach, I think the max I got was 90 counties on turn 1 and to Empress. That can be done in another video. Our goal right now is to leave you in a situation where you're starting off in a pretty good situation in the game, and then from there you just roll. So, Kong Rong, we can live without. Han Empire, we're gonna become really good friends with them. And then Liu Bei, we're also going to become really good friends with them. What I mean by this is Liu Bei and the Han Empire are gonna get confederated. I'm gonna ignore Kong Rong and Liu Chong, and that will be it for my diplomatic cheese for the first part of the game. Now, it's a lot of shenanigans to get this done. So, with Liu Bei, who's the first one that I want to confederate, right? We're gonna go to him, and you see that the non-aggression pact is 2.0. At the moment, we're friendly with him. Now, if you actually get to best friends, or to very friendly or best friends, the non-aggression military access trade agreements go up by 1.0. Not sure if it's a constant 1.0 that it goes up, but I've seen a pattern of that magnitude increase based on your level of friendliness with someone. So right now, 2.0 could be 3.0 or 4.0, depending on our attitude level that we have with a faction. So how do you get to very positive with Liu Bei? So you do a little bit of cheese. Actually, a lot of cheese. So the goal that we have here is that we want to confederate him. We're going to unify our factions through marriage. That's our goal. Now, our goals, though, to make sure that happens, though, is that if we look at Liu Bei, he actually, at the moment, has pretty good or a very big army that he starts out with. And we also want to confederate the Han Empire into our faction. So what you can do, you can actually confederate the Han Empire without becoming a vassal of Zhuo. But to do that, you're gonna have to do an ultimatum. Every time you use an ultimatum, it drops you in trustworthiness by -11. That goes back up until you get a constant -1 penalty in diplomacy across every single ultimatum that you issue. So if you offer multiple multiple ultimatums, you're gonna drop to -11, -22, -33, and then you're gonna bring it back up to -1, -2, -3, depending on the number of ultimatums. My suggestion from my years playing Total War is do not be under -10 in diplomacy for more than a few turns. If you are, you're gonna get unexpected war declarations. People are really not gonna like you. So only one ultimatum every 10 to 12 turns is acceptable, and then you can do another one. And then another one. So always stay really close to -10 diplomacy or greater to avoid being very not respected by everyone, and big war declarations come your way. We're gonna go to Zhuo. He is a very friendly person-ish. And then what we're going to do is we're gonna become a vassal of him. At the moment, it is at -4.1 to become his vassal, but we can actually bring that up a little bit more. So we're gonna go over to Zhuo with Zhang Ba's army, and we're gonna grab back this region that we lost. This improves our overall strategic level at this moment. So we're gonna do the occupation here, And now we have this location under our control again. Now, the next thing I want to do is whenever I get the peace with, what do you call it? Or whenever I get the vassalization under Dong, I'm going to get peace with Zhorong. So I don't necessarily, you know, want to take advantage of grabbing this region because I really care more so about the Confederations this turn. So the very first things that I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to Mr. Dong. And if we look at vassalization, it's at negative 4.3. The reason why it dropped even more is because I lost a little bit of military strength due to the units being hurt from that, what do you call it? From that battle I just did. But what I want to do here is I want to make Dong Zhuo become either happier with us in some way or just bring him up more positive. If we look at the factors that lead to vassalization actually working, we have the military strength and strategic situation that improves via our agreements with other factions, our overall strength, military strength compared to another faction, and then basically how far away you are, the wider diplomatic impact. Some of these parameters you can manipulate. So in the end, he is negative for wanting to be, for me to actually become a vassal of his. But what I want to do here is potentially try to avoid reducing or using an ultimatum at all. So what I'm going to do is those items that I start out with, let me see if I do this, he actually doesn't want to give me guarantee of autonomy. I'm going to trade away some of the items that we actually start out with, both you or I. So they are the Stone Pig and the Ranger's outfit. That brings me to negative 0.1 to get vassalized under him. So we're going to do this vassalization right now, and it's going to make Dong Zhuo happier with us. Now, when we do this, it's going to open up the diplomatic map with every faction in the campaign. Now, believe me, there is some very important characters in the campaign that we really care about having deals with. So, number one, Liu Zhang is someone that really likes us, Liu Bei as well, and Con Rong as well. But coming back here though, who else do we really care about? Now, we have a lady leading our faction, but that's not the only advantage we have at the moment. We have a distant relative here that we can use for marriage, and then Lady Mi has two Mi family members here. So if she gets adopted into our faction or married, we have two males that we can utilize for marriage purposes as well. So we can bring in a lot of characters into our faction in what I would call the marriage simulator. Now, we did this now becoming vassal of Dong Zhuo. So that's the very first thing that we're dealing with at the moment. Now, if we go back to diplomacy though, and we go to non-aggression pact here, Liu Bei is still at 2.0. Cao Cao, we don't want any deals with him because you're going to end up at war with him as you're pushing throughout the campaign. So the next people that we care about having deals with is becoming really friendly with the Han Empire. So let's slowly but surely work our way up with the Han Empire so we actually go up and confederate him without an ultimatum. How do you know that you do not need an ultimatum to confederate the Han Empire? Look at the negative factors. It's at negative 85 at the moment. Positive factors, positive 53. The opinion of this idea, the only negative factor you see at the moment, if you get to best friends with the Han Empire or with anybody, that can drop down to negative 50. So that's as low as it's gonna get. You manipulate that to get to negative 50, but then the positive factors, you manipulate them up the freaking wazoo. Building up more armies, you know, manipulating things over time, like becoming a vassal of Dong Zhuo. The Han Empire sees you more powerful because of it, so they really increase your strategic situation at the moment, and that brings it up to positive 53. So how do we actually get a deal with the Han Empire though to become very friendly with them? So we're gonna make regular payments with the Han Empire, and then if you still have positive income coming in, the maximum you're gonna give per 10 turns will be however much you're giving or you're getting above 0 income per turn, and this distribution will help basically manipulate the Han Empire in our favor. So how does this Shi's mechanic work? If you look at the bottom right here, current attitude is at 0. Trending attitude towards positive 15 is the other parameter. If you give money over time for 10 turns, trending towards increases. Non-aggression pacts, military accesses can further increase this up as well as big marriages. Now, when you give immediate money, the turn that you're doing something, or ancillaries or something at the moment, if you give it to the faction and they immediately acquire it, the trending towards actually goes up. So we want to give money at the instantaneously and give money over time to bring up the current attitude above 151 and then bring the trending towards definitely above 151, so we get to best friends. That's gonna bring the opinion of the Confederation of the opinion of this idea from negative 85 to 50. So we're gonna do this deal initially, this one right here. And now the Han Empire is at positive 8 attitude and positive 32 to wanting to get confederated. So let's go back again to the Han Empire. And believe me, this is just massive amounts of cheese. Now, I don't want to do an aggression pact just yet, even though actually you should, because the Han Empire is really hard to manipulate in diplomacy. It takes a lot of giving money over time, so we get favorable deals with the Han Empire. So let's do these deals first, because it'll help bring up the trending towards and the current attitude up a bit faster. So let's do this here. Give him a penny. Boop. There we go. Positive 19 and then positive 50, and then trending towards 54. Military access, very positive as well. And then he also wants a non-aggression pact. So things are very positive at the moment in my favor. He also might have ancillaries that I might care about. But then again, I don't necessarily care about grabbing the ancillaries because that's RNG. These ancillaries will not be constant. So here, let's do the same thing. Give him all the money over time that I have. Once you have $0 or negative income, you can only give however much you have at the moment in your bank divided by 10. So I can give 268 across 10 turns via this deal, and then I'll give 1 immediate penny. And then the Han Empire now is trending to 114. And from here, we're gonna keep doing the same abuse that I'm doing here. But look at another cheese we're going to do here. Since we're gonna end up confederating the Han Empire, I can give them some of these regions that I have at the moment in order to be able to confederate him. But before I do that, I want to do something else. So we'll get to that in just a second. So same thing here. Let's give him a penny. Boop. And then something you can do in this cheese to further improve your situation is you can actually ask for food or for the money that this faction has at the moment, and then just ask for it all at the moment, just like this. And then from there, you can also give your own food, and we're gonna trade a territory, and we're gonna trade that small little farmland that I have below. This is so positive that I can even bring in ancillary if I wanted to. And of course, Scholar is good. You can do this if you want to. And this brings it up to positive 1.0. I'll get back this region. I'll get back this money over time. So let's do this.
May your fortunes multiply.
Still going up. And then from here, I don't care about grabbing any more ancillaries. Join marriage. It's positive 52.2. And the opinion of this idea is at negative 60. So it's almost there. It's almost reached the threshold to do the confederation. So let's give him the money over time and then make a single payment. Let's do this. Oh shit, in the wrong button. There we go. Keep improving it, and then this is gonna take a lot of time, so just keep doing this over and over and over again. Very good.
From such small sprouts,
and I'm just gonna skip this until I get to 152 current attitude. All right, so we got 2 best friends here, and then join faction through marriage. Look at that. We are able to confederate the Han Empire on turn 1. Now, I want to make sure I do a couple of things before I make that happen, though. So when you confederate someone, you have to take into account something very important. You want to make sure that you acquire as many characters as possible through the confederation. If you have a max cap of armies, say 3, and you already have 1 army deployed, and say the faction you're going to deploy has more than 2 armies, whoever the game decides that is not going to come into your faction, faction leaders, you'll definitely keep them in their retinue. Everybody else, unless they're a distant relative, they're not gonna come through the confederation. If they're already deployed, though, there'll be armies that you can already have in the battlefield, so you can acquire those characters into your own campaign. So we want to manipulate that. What we're going to do here is we're going to disband Sangba. You have to be very careful with this, because when you do this, you actually cause a situation where you could cause the military strength to drop too much, and then from there you could potentially lose the chance of being able to do the confederation. But now we have confederated the Han Empire. It's gonna bring up corruption up the wazoo to like 1 billion. But with this situation, though, we're in a very, very strong situation in terms of amount of prestige that we've acquired, amount of regions. We're above 70, and then you can just do crazy amounts of cheese here to just get, or confederation cheese to get Liu Chong, Con Rong, Liu Bei. You can even get Chi Chi if you want to. Lu Yang you will not be able to get because he starts out married, but there's other great characters to confederate. Jia Long, gives, if you put him in a leadership position that's pretty strong, you can actually get him to give what do you call it, 15% more ambush chance faction wide. And then Liu Dai over here gives -2 construction time per turn if he's in a leadership position. So these things are very strong. As for the generals that we acquire though, from this confederation, we have Huang Fusong over here. He's very old, so he's gonna croak very soon, but he does have Destroyers of Treasury and Defenders of the Empire, which you can actually end up utilizing. And then additionally, we start with another guy all the way over here who's not a really good character, but it's another general that we can utilize for some purposes. Now, we don't want to necessarily keep him around because he's going to engage... you can't move any characters when they spawn unless you move out of the armies that they spawn in, the other retinues that they have, and then they'll have their army action points. So here, we're not going to engage Huang Shao. And in this one up here, who starts out trespassing on GSC territory, we're going to basically move into Force March up to the north, and then we'll actually disband him. But we're going to keep these armies for now, because now we're going to do the same cheese that I just did to get the Han Empire to get other factions. So we also want to reach the max level of prestige to become an emperor or a contending emperor. So what I want to do here is we're going to go to Sun Jian over here. Sun Jian really likes, or doesn't actually necessarily really like us, but at the very least, we want to become very friendly with him. How do we do that? We can trade this non-territory to him right here. And then, oh, whoops, that didn't work. Let's go back. Let's give him this. And then from there, look what we can get on turn 1. Imperial Jade Seal. And it's such a good situation that we can even get a trade agreement just added for, for fun. And then if we just want to make this deal happen, we can just trade the Noble Sword. Turns it even more positive. We could get a non-aggression pact if we wanted to. But this is enough now to get the Imperial Jade Seal, get a positive relations with Sun Jian so we can get Sun Shi into our faction. But the Imperial Jade Seal is going to get us even closer towards Emperor. But not only that, we're also going to get more satisfaction faction-wide. So because we are the vassal of Dong Zhuo, we are not going to actually, put someone into the heir position because he could steal our heir. But continuing here though, Lady Gan, we want to divorce from Huang Fusong because we need her to confederate via marriage other people into the faction. But coming back here though, we're going back to her and give her the Imperial Jade Seal, at least for now. Do this. Very good. And then let's look at how much prestige we have. So what you can do here is trade with a lot of factions in the campaign. Let's go for crazy amounts of trade. There we go. And then look at that. We're at 461 prestige already. We can get to 500 if we do a couple more confederations. But now, there's some very interesting things that you can see in this campaign from turn 1. You really never get spies on turn 1 when you're playing on the 190 start date. You can actually see that there's a couple of turncoats that you could potentially hire. So we're going to get 1 spy into our faction. And then administrators we want as well, but assignments are going to be key, given that Tao Qian has an assignment that gives +20 population growth faction-wide, and that's a very strong thing to have, and then we can get a lot more character experience in our faction. So let's do all of these. We're at Queen, so we need 39 more prestige to get to the max level. Now, coming back to active spies, you notice that Shenzhen, Sanjian, and then Liu Yao actually have characters that we can hire as potential turncoats, which is pretty interesting. But anyways, aside from that, I think some of these might actually be bandit, right? Based characters. Maybe this guy is actually worthwhile grabbing. Also, when you confederate the Han Empire, you see that Lu Fang appears in the recruitment pool, which is kind of interesting that he appears there. But anyways, aside from that though, we're gonna go back here. She is no longer married, and now what we want to do is get other factions into our campaign confederated right now. If we look at Liu Bei, he's at -33 to wanting a confederation. Now, to get him higher, we need to either improve our strategic situation by like more than +9, because we have a major threat to us penalty that is affecting our confederation chances with him. But you can actually, if you wanted to, confederate him with the ultimatum, but I kind of wanted to avoid that. And then another person that can be confederated, for example, is Con Rong. He's also very negative, but he's trending very closely towards a good value. And then Liu Chong is another one. So if we look at Liu Chong,
we will talk.
He's at -30. And remember, opinion of this idea can be brought up to -50. So that's a 35 increase in diplomatic chances of marriage. So if we do the cheese or the exploit, we can confederate him as well. So coming back to the characters that we have though, this one we're going to disband because he's gonna in essence die, and then we're gonna go to him and we're going to banish him for $800 more. It's gonna cost a -5 penalties faction wide, but that's okay. We can actually handle that with what do you call it, with how we're gonna end this campaign. So let's go back to Liu Chong over here, and then we're going to do a lot of deals with him to get him as positive as possible with us. Let's start with the non-aggression pact. That's gonna make him happier.
A successful bid.
Very good. Let's go back to him. We can do the military access. Oh, he really doesn't want a military access. Let's do the trade agreement, military access, and then trade money over time, and then ask for as much of his immediate money as I possibly can. There we go. That makes him even happier. Very good.
We approve this.
And then from here,
Glad to see you.
I don't think I can do any more deals with him. So let's do this. Oh yeah, we can actually check the joint faction through marriage situation. The strategic situation improved a lot because of the... Actually, I think it's actually stayed pretty constant. It hasn't changed. Anyways, let's go back here. Give him money, give him money. And then let's ask for all his money he has at the moment. Perhaps not all of it. He doesn't want to give all of it. Very good.
We take this as a token of friendship.
So yeah, I'm going to do the same cheese. So I'm going to continue recording after I finish. All right, I got him to best friends. Join faction through marriage. So now we can confederate him. He only has one retinue deployed, which is himself. So I don't need to disband any more armies at the moment, because I won't necessarily not get any other characters that he has. So now we do this.
Successful bid.
And now we've acquired him into our faction. And if we look at our prestige situation, we only need 12 to reach queen, which is great. So he's deployed right now. He gets 2 of his absolutely monster units at the moment. So with that now, we are getting ready to potentially be able to confederate Liu Bei or Khan Rong. Now, if we go over here, this guy has a lot of units, so he's pretty good for confederation purposes. Let's look at the situation for confederating these guys. Has it potentially improved? Well, I can't really see that at the moment. Let me go back to the court. And then I don't think I can put him as heir. Yeah, I don't want to do that as heir though. Yeah, I can't put... If you marry someone through confederation, you can't put them into a position of power. So yeah, I wanted to put Liu Bei is the one that I care about putting into prime minister position. But coming back here though, let's go back to confederation. Let's go to Mr. Liu Bei, who really likes us.
Glad tidings to you.
And then he's now at -32. Military strength and strategic situation haven't necessarily improved too much. So if I do confederation with him, it's still a +2. I don't really care about getting that much more money though. So let's actually just do this here.
As it is. Greetings.
And then military access.
Thank you.
So if we look, has that improved the situation? Still -32. It hasn't improved any further. So yeah, that sucks. So anyways, continuing though, if we go to Khan Rong,
And greetings. Well met.
he is at -39. So he's still in a similar situation. To confederate them, it would require utilizing an ultimatum, which is a pretty big negative thing to utilize. It's actually not trending very positively to wanting a non-aggression pact. You can just give him a little bit of money. Yeah, well, let's just do... Yeah, this will do.
A successful bid.
And then if we go back here,
Greetings. Well met.
military access is pretty negative. There we go.
We approve this.
And if we look again, how is he doing? Still -39, yeah. So the major threat to us is the thing that's killing us, to be able to confederate him without having to utilize the trustworthiness penalty, right, that we're getting hit by. So aside from that though, this is the thing. You can continue this campaign without confederating Liu Bei if you wanted to, or Khan Rong, and then continue from there. What I want to do here is, I actually want to get to the highest level here, to Empress. Basically, it'll unlock the 3 kingdoms for these 3 guys, but I'll let them be the actual emperors and hold their seats. It actually is going to be a big issue for them, because it's going to be Dong Zhuo, Liu Yang, and then Gong Sung-du. Gong Sung-du is going to be very low level, easy for you to grab. But what you can do is you can actually win the campaign very easily, getting the total amount of counties if you wanted to. You only need 25 more. You can continue sheezing the rest of the factions that are around the map and actually make it work. So for example, let me show you this. Shi Xie is not visible because he doesn't appear this right now at this point in the map. But if we go down here,
Greetings.
this guy's at negative 35.4. He's someone that we can almost confederate via marriage, but we just need to continue improving our strategic situation, and by getting more settlements, we actually improve that. Here's somebody else that we can actually get, and if you do the Shis, you can confederate him. That should potentially trickle Jin Shao positive 0.4 higher, and then Shi Xie is someone that you can also confederate. That's almost 10 regions down here. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe like 10 regions in total you can confederate down here. And it just continues. Like, I think this guy is somebody else that can be married, but this one is still a little bit too negative to potentially marry into our faction. They're still little guys. Liu Dai is someone else that can get married into our faction. Let's go to him. Yeah, so I'm not gonna continue checking, but I'm gonna now do a lot of cleaning up to leave this in a great situation for you, the player, to end up in. And basically that can be the end of this early game guide, where you can reach Empress, release a lot of vassals, or not necessarily release, but you can also trade away a lot of the regions if you want to. So we'll reduce our region count to potentially win the game, but we'll get all the benefits of reaching Queen. So we'll get all the assignments, we'll get all the what do you call it? We can get all of the administratives, a lot of administrative slots if we want to, armies. We can just max cap these things and then continue the campaign from there. All right, so to reach Empress, the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to automatically construct county office in the biggest money-making regions in the campaign, and all I need to do is build 3 of them, I believe. So Hedong is the best commandery in the game, so build a county office there. Huainan, we could build it there. I think in Poyang it's level 2 only. Let's go back to Huainan over here, and we can just deconstruct any of these and then build the building that I want. So let's do this and then build this building. It gets us to how much? Let me see. I think I need to build 2 more, right? Actually, just 1 more. So if I go here, Duchy of Lu could actually be fixed here. I don't care about, what do you call it, commerce income coming in, even though it's a pretty good magnitude coming in here. I don't care about this income in this region. Let's build this. And there you go. You become Empress on turn 1. So here we can maximize our assignments to get 50% more character experience. I absolutely love having that. 2 spies is good, so if you have 1 spy active, you can still see if there's a turncoat available. So you basically, it's always good to have a minimum of 2 spy slots to hire good characters from other factions. And in the rest of the points, armies is good, but if you put an administrator into an administrative position, you unlock 1 more available army. So let's get 3 administrative slots, and we'll get, I think, up to 3 more, I think it is, through reforms, and that's a pretty good magnitude. You want them to at least be in regions that you want to defend with an additional retinue, or the best regions in the game that produce the most money. So with this magnitude here, you're basically a loyal of the Han, so you won't necessarily get to the, what do you call it, max level here. But now, if we go to Confederation, let's see how much Liu Bei gets affected by this. Negative 32, so he didn't necessarily improve overall to wanting to get more confederated, but that's okay. And then from there, I still got a lot more steps, right, that I want to do to fix the economic situation. So one of the big advantageous things that you can do is that once you get to this level, Liu Zhang actually wants to marry Lady Gan into our faction. And that is actually very useful because that can give us 50% more food produced faction-wide. A pretty good bonus to have for someone into a big leadership position in our campaign. All right, and to end this turn, there's a couple things that can be done. So the corruption, it's so high on this first turn that it's absolutely atrocious to deal with. It's like 108%. That's higher than the max cap. It's really weird. You confederate the Han Empire and this penalty arises. How we fix our economic situation is those quadrillion trade agreements that we actually begin with. So we want to make trade agreements with people that won't necessarily go to war with us, that will potentially stay very friendly and still be doing trade with us to start the campaign. So for example, we can trade with Zhang Xiao, that's directly below us there, and then request payment. And then with that, he's gonna become even happier. And then also trade with people that have resources that you don't have. So if you go down, Jing Xiao down here actually has spice. So if you don't necessarily want to Shi's to get his territory, you can just do this and boom, another trade agreement. And then continuing, I think there's somebody that has horses and it's Liu Zhu in the north. Where is he? But he's also at war with, oh, Kingdom of Zhuo. He doesn't start a war with GSC. Really? Huh. Okay. So let's go to him. He has forces.
Enter freely, friend.
Requests. There we go. That's 4 trade agreements. And then from there, Cao Cao do not do deals with his ass. And I'm telling you, do not do deals at all with him. And then Sun Jian, since you have a female leading your faction, you can just utilize Lady Gan or adopt Lady Mi. And then once you adopt Lady Mi, actually be able to what do you call it? We actually have a trade agreement with him. I forgot about that. And then actually adopt Sun She or marry Sun She into our faction. You can do the same thing with Ma Xiao in the north. So continuing though, there's probably some other people that would be good to trade with, like this guy. Let's go here.
Welcome,
receive
friend.
food.
A satisfactory deal.
People from the south, trading with them is good. You can just maintain that trade for a long duration of time. Yanbai Hu will potentially not like you that much once you grab the Emperor seats. And continue. This guy is a vassal of... What do you call it? He is a vassal of Liu Biao. Here's Liu Dai. He'll probably stay put. You can just trade with him and make a lot of money doing so. And then there's still this lady that we can marry into our faction, but I don't necessarily care about that. We can just do this and just get that trade agreement with him. And there's someone that is a very important person to actually do deals with. You see this one Quan guy? He's a divorce sim key character. So what he has is 2 females. So what you do is you marry one into your faction. You can do a trade agreement with him if you want to. He's usually at war with Deng Zhuo. Bring this down. Bring it down. And then
we accept your offer.
What you do is you create a female distant relative, because you go here, you divorce her, and then you go back to one Quan and you marry the other lady.
Take a seat.
Actually willing. Wow, she actually is willing to become a spy too. That is pretty interesting. But you see this now? Look how interesting that is. Of course, Confederation. You can confederate him if you wanted to. But here, boom. And now you have now a female that can be utilized for marriage purposes. So for example, if you go to Cao Cao,
Not you again.
there's Cao Ren, and you can just marry him into your faction for a lot of money. And remember, getting a marriage done with a faction you're gonna go to war against does not incur diplomatic penalties if you go to war against them. So you have that going in your favor.
So be it.
And then continuing, there's still even more trade agreements that can be done. For example, there's Shi Xie in the south.
Greetings.
And
Well
confederation with him, it's still pretty negative, but it's actually possible to confederate him because it's at negative 33. So it's actually a deal that could also be done. So if we go to him, and the advantage of becoming Empress is that you no longer need a female leading the faction to do marriages, to do confederations via marriage. So what I'll do here is I'll go to Shi Xie here,
Greetings.
and then
Well
I
met.
will become very friendly with him with all of these deals. Okay, well, we'll do this first.
A successful bid.
And I'll confederate him and see if
Welcome.
that's good enough to actually be able to get Liu Bei and Kong Rong confederated into the faction.
A successful bid.
Okay. Look how crazy this is. Everyone literally wants to do deals with you.
Pleasure.
So even Mr. Liu Zhang, who's a kingdom, wants an aggression pact. You can do this if you want to, if you don't necessarily want to rush his emperor seat. Let's do this. Boop. But I'm not gonna do that. Let me turn this off. Let's go back to Shi Xie in the south, which I can't really see. There we go. It's still trending upwards.
Greetings. Well met.
Military access is still pretty negative. So here, we're gonna give him the entire kitchen sink. Make a single payment. Very good.
May your fortunes multiply.
And yeah, he's trending super positive now.
Enter freely, friend.
Yeah, and then military access. Look how high it went.
A successful bid.
That makes him very happy.
Welcome, friend.
Make regular payments. Make payment. Very good.
From such small sprouts grow tall trees.
And then I'm just gonna keep doing the cheese until I get him confederated. All right, so Shi Xie now is at 169, so he's ready for getting confederated. And with that, we get him into our faction.
Forges strength.
And if we go over here, look at all this extra territory we've now acquired. all the way down here in the good old south. And then with these territories acquired, what we care about now is coming back to Conrong, and how much does that improve our strategic situation for getting him confederated? Negative 39. So it is still too negative. It should, if I was 35 or lower, I could get him confederated without doing.
Glad tidings to you.
In this one, still too low, so it's still minus 25. So yeah, for confederating Liu Bei and Conrong, you do have to do ultimatums, which will incur those diplomatic penalties. So I'll get a trade agreement with this faction, who's basically surrounded by my own territories. And then Kupan here in the far south is in a very friendly situation, or in a very favorable situation for deals as well. We can just do this and make it happen. And that's the 9 trade agreements, and we have 2k in income at the moment. Now, very importantly, do not ever forget about if you're a vassal, the maintaining guarantee of autonomy, else you're just gonna lose the campaign. So yeah, it's kind of important. So let's trade. Yeah, we could actually keep these items. They're pretty good. Let's trade this one. Jade Horseman is good as well. And look at all those bows that you get. You get probably 3 of the best bows in the game to start out. Jade Horseman is also a good item. We can just trade it to make this deal happen. And then he won't eat us up through diplomacy. And then there's still a lot of deals that you can do across many different factions to become very friendly. Some of them that you really want to do is Ma Teng, so he likes you even more. So in that way, we can actually get Ma Xiao offered via marriage. And then another person is Shen Jian. She doesn't have any regions, so you want her to not declare war on you. So she focuses on other areas of the map to push on. All right, so to finalize here, I think it's a very good time location to leave the campaign at in terms of everything that has been done. So the first thing that we did here was we worked our way to get Tao Qian killed and put Lady Gan as our faction heir. Then we became the vassals of Dong Zhuo. Did not guarantee autonomy because it cost a lot diplomatically to make it happen. And then I confederated the Han Empire without an ultimatum. After doing that, it became the opportunity to confederate others like Liu Chong, trade for the Imperial Jade seal from Sun Jian, and then from there, I built a couple of county offices in order to get to Empress. Now, once you get to Empress level, you get a max amount of whatever you want. Trade agreements, assignments, administrators, spies, etc. But now we get into a situation where, oh, well, there's actually somebody else that wants to become a spy. Oh, that's cool. So anyways, you get into a situation where you create the 3 kingdoms throughout the map. Kingdom of Shun is actually the hardest one to grab because Kingdom of Zhou actually, he lowers his level of his capital because he starts to lose money once you escape being his vassal, which will be after 10 turns. And then Kingdom of Guizhou is a very weak one. It's actually level 2. It's located. So if you rush any seat to get the titles or to get to an emperor seat so you can unlock the council positions, well, you can just rush this one and it's like extremely easy to graft. But aside from that, once you get to this point, right, I mean, you can just confederate like crazy. Shi Xie, I confederated. And then if we go to diplomacy, the real important thing is that you're not untrustworthy. That's the key. And then you look at the people that you can confederate. Liu Bei does not want to get confederated, but there's people that actually do. I believe Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and Conrong, all 3 can get confederated with an ultimatum. Isn't that hilarious? You're playing Tao Qian, and you can actually confederate Cao Cao. But people that want to get confederated, let's go through all of them. Look at people that are at negative 35 or lower. So for example, Wang Quan, Wang Lan, let's keep going. San Jian, Ma Teng, almost Yuan Chu. Wow. Zhang Lu. Was this? Zhu Fu. Jialong. And that is in Kong Zhou. So all of these potentially have an opinion of this idea of negative 85. So you could actually confederate him because you can bring up the diplomatic status of confederation by positive 35. Some are at negative 75 opinion of this idea, so it will be actually minus 25 or a smaller value for confederation to make it happen. But what I suggest you do once you get to this point is you can just keep confederating people without ultimatums so you can get to the max amount of counties held. And then from there, I've done this before. You can actually win the campaign before turn 10. You can build a large army, a huge army, to grab the Liu Zhang settlement. There will be a big army here as well. You can build up a semi-large army, not necessarily too big, to grab this region here. It'll get dragon units as well. So I think one and a half armies here, 1.5 armies in Kingdom of Zhu, and then a really small army here. So if you confederate enough people, build up enough army or big enough armies to auto-resolve, you might actually be able to win the campaign as well in less than 9 turns and without that many enemies left. If you want to fix your economic situation, because we actually end up with a big corruption issues, you can gift a lot of your, or you can grant independence to administrators throughout different locations in the map. Like this western block, we don't care about. Like all this area in the south down here, we don't care about. This area that was Shi Xie's also, there's a lot of regions that a lot of commanderies that if you control a major region, you can release them as vassals. Then you lower your corruption hit of that basically max caps at 50 counties, and I forgot at what level of counties it actually starts. But you end up in a situation where you can control the corruption, keep some of the best commanderies in the game that you actually can get doing this, like Hedong, Huainan, Poyang, and I think you also get over here Badong. Some really good regions that you start out with at the moment. And in this one as well, you can create a vassal over here because this place is like looter heaven. This region's over here, you can just trade to Hansui if you want to. And then from there, you're in a situation where you can win the campaign within 10 turns. Or you can trade away a lot of your regions, design the game as you want to by giving more regions to Juanchu, Kingdom of Shun, minor factions. So you lower down to like 10 counties or something like that. And then you actually still experience a long campaign to get 95 counties again. But you now have all of these trade agreements, you have all of these assignments, all of these prestige point allocations that you did to do whatever you want. I highly recommend that even if it's an ultimatum, the one faction you confederate with an ultimatum is Liu Bei, because of Guan Yu, of course, and Zhang Fei, but mainly because Liu Bei gives plus 100 faction support when he's in a leadership position, and that's super good for acquiring regions or stabilizing all these regions really fast. When you confederate all of these, or acquire all these regions through confederation, because the next turn the faction support is going to be super low. You really want to be able to stabilize all of these regions that we start out in. So anyways, that is it for this really crazy early game guide. I really want to thank y'all for watching, and I hope to see y'all on the next one. Bye bye.